Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven from X-Kurgani Photos. For today, I want to share my thoughts and opinions on Panasonic L-mount alliance, especially after CP+, where now the L-mount is starting to become quite attractive to me. Panasonic L-mount is something that for the past 6 or 7 years, it is a camera system that I have never given any chance. Like, if you ask me, will I ever buy them even with a discount, I would straight up say no. As my answer within a couple of seconds to ask that question. But today, like within the past week or two, my answer would be a little bit different, given what I've seen in CP+. So, firstly, we have this Sigma BF over here, $2,000 camera, which is missing everything except a camera sensor and a shutter button, something like that. No mechanical shutter, no hot shoe, no mic or headphone jack, no memory card slot as well, no everything, right? The list is too long. So who would buy something like this, right? The photography, the video community we have over here on the internet, everyone are too narrow-minded. You'll say this is a camera which will be very appealing over here in Asia, especially in Japan and China. For a very simple reason, it is a piece of luxury in terms of being a piece of jewelry, a piece of fashion accessory. So some people dress up very extravagantly, especially in Japan. If you have visited Shibuya before, just on a normal day out, a normal weekend out, people dress up. They take their time to present themselves in a very nice way. And to top things off, yeah, if you are not having a gold chain around your neck, then maybe a camera would fit the bill. Where for this very reason, Fujifilm has been very popular and Nikon is cashing it with the ZF as well, right? ZF is kind of big for a fashion accessory, but it works if you don't mind. To me, the Sigma BF is playing the very same role as a fashion accessory, a luxurious one, but it needs a pancake lens, and no, not that trashy f8 manual lens from Panasonic. It needs something very similar to Nikon's 26mm pancake for the Z mount. That would be perfect on a camera like this, yes, and in silver. So, just because I am a photographer and a content creator that loves gear like this, Nikon Z8, it does not mean I will go out and trash talk about this camera, because I understand that the target audience is very different. And because this is a piece of fashion accessory, it means that not many units will be sold, and hence they need to overprice it so that they don't have to sell as many units in order to recoup the R&D cost, right? So it makes sense over here. Another example that I would give you guys is the Nikon P1100 or Nikon P1000 bridge camera, tiny sensor but 3000mm in focal length. Then I see people asking, why would people buy a tiny sensor camera when smartphone cameras have bigger sensor nowadays, right? Compared to bridge cameras with super zoom lenses. The thing is that it is not photographers that are buying these cameras. It is scientists, researchers, conservationists trying to protect the environment. They are trying to photograph endangered animals and so on. All they needed was a clear picture of an animal from a distance where smartphones could not get, right? So it is not necessarily that every product made by a company has to be appealing to professional photographers. Some of them are meant for other kinds of users. You need to bear that in mind. So I suppose that the Sigma BF will be everyone's favorite punching bag right now, replacing the OM3 just from a couple of months ago. When that camera came out, everyone were criticizing it for being overpriced, which I do agree, because it had like 2 million EVF, what the heck, at $2,000. Now people will forget about the OM3 and they'll turn their negativity over onto this camera over here. Regardless of whether it is justified or not, I think it is not justified at all. Yeah. Okay, so the second camera over here, Panasonic Lumix S1Rii Mark II, $3,300 to get a conventional 44MP sensor from the DJI Ronin 4D 8K. And when you look at the specs on paper, it is a very attractive camera in terms of value. Like Panasonic has always offered their users a lot of value. My problem over here with this S1Rii II is that I'm not sure if this camera is targeted at photographers or video people, or Panasonic just wants it to be a true hybrid. I'm not sure anymore, because the R series has always been photographer centric. Yet Panasonic is focusing on the video features when they promoted this camera during the announcement. So I'm not sure what is the message over here, like what is the target customer over here. Because if Panasonic is deviating and choosing to focus on video people with the S1R2, then the 44 megapixel sensor they used in this camera is the wrong sensor to go with. Because the readout speed is way too slow. If you have seen Gerald Undan's very technical test on the sensor, the rolling shutter is way too heavy to be usable outside of anything that is considered to be an A-roll, which is a talking head video like the one you're watching right now. The moment you move the camera and pan it a bit, you might see some rolling shutter. So it is the wrong sensor to use in a video-centric camera. But if you told me it is a very capable photography camera, yes, I agree. But Panasonic kind of forgot about the photographers when they promoted this camera during the announcement. As for the asking price of $3,300, for a brand new launching price, it is very attractive, and maybe it will fall below $3,000 after a few months, right? Because the biggest problem I'm seeing over here is that the Nikon Z8 is now $3,300 as well, and you get a fully stacked sensor, which makes more sense for people who shoot fast-moving stuff or videos, right? I know that this is a $4,000 camera, but I paid $3,300 brand new for it. And that is the biggest problem with this S1R2 right now. Granted, this is a camera which I think is for existing Panasonic users. Is this camera attractive enough to make people jump ship, especially from Nikon? I'm not sure. Yeah. So as for the sensor choice over here, it feels like Panasonic should have went with a semi-stacked sensor like what Nikon did with the Z6 Mark III. However, these two new cameras are not the reason why I think Panasonic is a lot more attractive right now. To me, the whole camera system is the most important thing, and that should be the main factor when you choose what system to buy into. I bought a Nikon because I liked their lenses. I'm looking at the lenses. But when it comes to camera systems, it is not just about both the bodies and the lenses, but also the users itself. And this is where the biggest problem lies with Panasonic Lumix. The problem is that nobody uses their cameras, at least in my country. You see, I have attended so many events over the years, be it anime conventions, comic cons, or any other kinds of event, where you'll see a lot of people with a camera walking around, be it photographers or videographers or content creators, and I almost never see anyone use a Lumix full-frame camera. When there are very few users, it translates into a non-existent used market, where people on a budget really care about. The amount of options and choices you have for used L-mount gear is very limited. Meanwhile, if you walk into a small camera store, not the big ones, the small ones in your local town and so on, and you request for a Panasonic Lumix product, be it a lens or a camera body, more than often they don't have it in stock. You need to make a special order and wait for maybe a couple of weeks, and that is a major problem. And let's say you are an existing Panasonic S1R user, you are looking to upgrade to the S1R2. If you trade it in a local camera store, the resale value is very low because the camera store sees it as a high-risk product. There is no guarantee they would sell it in a short amount of time, so the trade-in value is pretty low. If you sell it on your own on the internet, nobody buys it. So if you buy a Panasonic, you are pretty much on your own in my country at least. It does not make much financial sense to invest in the L-mount system, and that is the biggest problem with the L-mount at the moment, at least in my country. Maybe in the US it makes sense, but not in my country at the moment. But I have just said that the L-mount is now a lot more attractive than it used to be. So what is it then if the used market here is pretty bad? The answer lies in third-party lenses, and no, I am not referring to Sigma, I'm referring to Chinese lenses. So with CP+, we are starting to see a lot of cheap third-party L-mount lenses coming from Chinese brands. 7 artisans have announced 4 lenses over here. The 35mm 2.8 would be ideal on the Sigma BF or even the Panasonic S9. But there are 3 APS-C lenses over here. I'm not sure why. Like, Panasonic does not have APS-C. 25, 35, and 51.8 APS-C. But I think the 35 2.8 will be quite popular. Yeah, regardless of whether it is for E mount, Z mount, or L mount. Moving on to the next one here, we have TT7 Artisans 24 1.8 L mounts available. Very nice, right? Up next, we have Maker announcing a new 35 1.8 Pro for L mount. And presumably it will be available for E mounts and Z mounts as well. And here 7 Artisans 50 1.8 available on Amazon. So what I'm saying over here is that since I couldn't get cheap pre-owned L mount lenses in the used market because there are very few choices, at least the Chinese is now stepping in and I can try out a Panasonic S9 for example and spend $300 on each lens instead of $600-800 on a Sigma lens, you know? Yeah. Here in Asia, our wages are very low. We have low income. So $600 or $800 for a Sigma contemporary lens is very expensive. For reference, a bachelor's degree engineer, fresh graduate, they are making like $550-600 a month. Yes. So camera is a luxury over here in Asia, and lowering the price of entry can only mean good things for the future of the L mount ecosystem. So yeah, the L mount is looking pretty great right now, and who knows, if I have extra cash lying around, I think the first thing I would pick up for the L mount ecosystem would be the Panasonic S9. Yeah, something small to hang around my neck, but the Sigma BF is way too limited. If I want a piece of accessory, then the Panasonic S9 is pretty attractive to me. Combine that with a 35 2.8 and I'm good to go. Yeah, so that is my thoughts on the L mount in general. Nobody buys it, but now at least we have Chinese lenses and more is to come. I heard that Viltrox is applying for the L mount license as well. Fantastic. So until then, my question for you guys, are you a Lumix user currently, especially full frame? Let me know down in the comments below. What made you buy a Lumix camera? Yeah, maybe it is the IBs, isn't it? They have the best IBs. Yeah, but for me, I'm unwilling to drop big money into a system where nobody is supporting. That's the issue right now, but things are about to change. So I'm quite optimistic about the L mount. Until then, if you found this video thought-provoking or informative in any way, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel for more camera content. Until then, I'll see you guys very soon. Thanks again and goodbye.